Joining us now is CNN legal analyst Shanlon. He's also a defence attorney and former federal prosecutor. We could have no one better to talk about this. It is interesting when you run through all of those charges, the indictments, the jail sentences, and then hear the president refer to it as a witch hunt and a hoax. What are you expecting from this? Do you think it's going to be a bombshell, or might it be disappointing to those who want to see a lot from it?
I think we're going to be disappointed in that it'll be really hard to get at the material. There's going to be a lot of fights about access. Evan Perez's great reporting on that kind of ends with a suggestion that maybe the end is really going to be the beginning, and it's going to be the beginning of a lot of legal fights. So the statute only requires for Mueller to give a report that has only a few requirements in it. So, for example, he has to give the evidence if he's going to prosecute. He has to explain if he's declining to prosecute, and he also has to cover if there's been any direction from the Justice Department limiting the investigation. Other than that, there's no real guidance or requirement for him. On top of that, there is a long-time policy in the department that they try to avoid situations like Director Comey found himself in. They don't want to give a lot of negative information around someone who has not been charged. So if you assume for a second that even Attorney General Barr has the best of intentions, he's not trying to censor or protect the president, he may rely upon that policy to give a very sanitized summary, which will probably be pretty frustrating for most people who've been following this. And I say the end is really the beginning because that really puts the ball in Congress's court. There already are investigations going on. They have the power to subpoena the bare details of the report. They can subpoena it in raw form. They can subpoena witnesses. They could call Mueller. All of that's going to lead to a lot of legal fights all about access to this information.
There really is an enormous amount of power and discretion with the Attorney General, isn't there? I mean, he said he would release the report consistent with the law. We don't really know what that means because he really has no obligation in that regard. So he could, as you say, it could be a sanitized summary. It could have very little detail. You've got a CNN poll. 87% of Americans think that the report should be made public. Might it be a situation where it's never made public in its full form?
Oh, I think that's very likely the situation. I mean, I completely sympathize with that 87%. I'm in there too. But there are very realistic reasons why we won't see the raw details. For one, to start with, much of it may be classified. We should remember this originated as a counterintelligence investigation. So there's going to be classified material in there that would have to be redacted. There's going to be instances of people cooperating, perhaps people like my former client, Rick Gates' cooperation. Nothing I say is in violation of privilege or confidential. It's all public. But folks like that who have cooperated, or Cohen giving information that's being used, all of that, they're going to typically redact. They're not going to want to put all of that in the public. So I think there's very, very little chance that we will ever see the raw form of it. But depending on how the Attorney General summarizes it, depending on how aggressive the House is in particular about trying to get information, we may see some important information.
Yeah, it is interesting. We touched on this with Evan Perez as well, and it's important. Mr. Mueller did hand out a lot of these inquiries to other jurisdictions, in particular the Southern District of New York. Those inquiries continue, don't they? And a lot of people say that Donald Trump's team is more worried about what's happening in the Southern District of New York than perhaps in the Mueller inquiry.
Oh, yes, that's exactly right, Michael. Those absolutely continue, as does the one in D.C., and I've always thought that the Southern District one probably does have the greatest jeopardy for the president, because with Michael Cohen involved, that was the president's lawyer. And when you're talking to your lawyer, you are not censoring yourself at all. He knows all the secrets. He knows the brainstorming, what they want to reveal, what they don't want to reveal. So Cohen has always been extraordinarily dangerous for the president. And on top of that, of course, also in New York, the Attorney General's office has been looking at the Trump organization itself, which of course endangers many members of the president's family. So there's lots and lots of jeopardy for the president, regardless of what format the Mueller report ends up being issued in.
Shan Wu, as always, great to have you on. I appreciate it very much.
Good to see you.